Well, well, well. Nintendo has finally announced a new direct presentation for Splatoon 3 tomorrow morning. Thank heavens. I've been waiting and waiting for news about this game since the last trailer at the start of this year, so it's been a long few months. Now, granted, I will say for me personally, I've been much more on the optimistic side of things for the game. Whereas I know a lot of other people have been kind of more antsy or worried about how much content, how much stuff's going to be included in the new game, and, well, I think that's a fair and valid point. But thankfully, we're finally getting a presentation tomorrow. And since we are, I thought it'd be a little bit of fun to try and predict what's going to show up tomorrow, right? Or at least just generally talk about what I think's going to end up, being shown off in the presentation. Yes, I know it is coming out tomorrow, but I'm like a little kid the day before Christmas where I'm very excited and I can't wait, so I just honestly wanted to talk about this game, so I thought this would be fun. So, without further ado, let's get into some of my thoughts. Number one, starting off, I think easily, right, let's get the simple stuff out of the way. We're definitely going to see, like, new maps, definitely some new multiplayer modes, definitely some, new gear, new outfits, new weapons, some special talk, right, talking about the new specials that were shown off in multiplayer. Definitely, we're going to be seeing all of that. I think that's an easy given. What I find interesting, though, is vendors, right? Because obviously vendors are going to be returning. But I'm wondering how many are going to be returning back from 2 and how many new ones are going to be. Because I do think some are going to end up, going the way of the dodo and moving on, and others will return. For example, Krusty Sean, right? Going from Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 2, he used to be the shoe gear seller, and then he ended up becoming the food truck driver in the second game. And so I think we will probably get something similar with a couple of the characters where they might return, but maybe try something new, or maybe responsible for some other item or boost, right? Which, while we're on that topic, the food boost from Krusty Sean. If you remember in Splatoon 2, you could get the different foods from him, and he could give you stat boosts, like you could get XP boost or earn more coin every time you complete a battle and stuff like that. So I definitely think that will probably return in some form, but I think it might be a little more expanded this time, and maybe Krusty Sean will be back again himself, but maybe instead of a food truck, it might be a restaurant or something. I don't know, but I think that's something interesting to think about. Now, one big thing I think might get shown off here is a new mode. Now, I don't mean new multiplayer modes. I definitely think there will be some new multiplayer modes, or some new ranked modes. But I'm thinking maybe like a new mode in general. Much like how in Splatoon 2, you had Salmon Run, right? That was the big new mode, the Horde mode, right? You get all 4 of your friends together, and then you battle out against waves and waves of Salmonades. And so I'm thinking there could be a potential that we get some form of a new mode alongside everything. So there'd be campaign, there'd be multiplayer, there'd be Salmon Run, and then a new mode. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. I'm just thinking they might do something like that. Now, of course, we do know Salmon Run is returning, and it's called, Next Wave, getting a bit of a revamp. So that might just be the extent of that. And if that's the case, I'll still be happy with it. But I think we might see a new mode. Alright, so now one big thing I do kind of want to get on is the idea of whether or not they're going to have the announcements or the news broadcasts at the start of each time you log in play out. If you don't know, I mean, you probably do because you're a Splatoon fan, but in both Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, you had the news broadcasts, which you had to watch through every time you logged in, announcing, hey, these are the new maps, here's the current game modes that are running, and, they're on the rotation, right? Every time rotation happened, you had to get a broadcast either from the Squid Sisters in 1 or Off the Hook in 2. I'm being curious because I'm thinking about it, would they have that return? Because that is, on the one hand, Splatoon fans, generally aren't biggest fans of it because, it gets a little old after a while. You just want to log in and start playing, right? So I think the team of the Splatoon team definitely understands that, and I'm just wondering because, like I said, for fans-wise, they don't care too much for it, but it is a element they incorporate to try and, help the world feel more lived in, right? More feel like an actual world. And so I'm thinking, personally, I think news broadcasts will still return in this game, right? I think they will still have the broadcast announcement every time you log in. But I don't think it's going to be done just in the same way before, which also leans into announcers, right? In the first game we had, Pearl, or not Pearl, oh my gosh, sorry. We had Callie and Marie in the first game, and then Pearl and Marina with Off the Hook who took their place. So I think in this game, we'll get a new set of announcers. The reason why I say this is because Callie and Marie have already gone off and are doing other things within the story mode, which I'll come back to in a minute. And Pearl and Marina haven't really been showing off at all. Now, I do remember one thing from, I think the Twitter announcements was they had, a little music song playing, which they said, hey, Pearl and Marina have gone on the road, and here's a song from them. And just taking that little detail into mind, I think they will have Pearl and Marina doing something else within the game. I don't think they'll be, gone completely. I think they'll just be doing something else in the background of the game, whether they're involved in story mode or maybe doing, something else. But I think we will be getting, personally, I think they'll be getting new announcers for Splatsville. And I think that would just really line up well with this game because, if you remember at the end of Splatoon 2, it was Team Chaos versus Team Order, and it was Chaos that won, hence how we got over here to Splatsville and, the Badlands-esque. And so I think we might get something a little more in theme with that. Right, I think the announcers would be maybe a bit more rock or punk themed, and I think there are going to be a lot more slapdash, which is where I'm leaning into coming back with the announcements. I think the way they'll keep the announcements, but I think they'll speed them up and make them go faster, and the way they do that is by having announcers where their whole, gist, their whole theme is being, kind of slapdashed and, very fast-paced, right? So, for example, whenever you would boot into Splatoon 2, you'd have Pearl Marina, and they're like, hey, welcome to Off the Hook. Let's get into today's announcements, generally like a broadcast. I think if they keep it in Splatoon 3, they might do something fun with new announcers. Maybe, when it boots up, it would be like, welcome to Splatsville. We're here today to talk about the new modes. All right, go, shoot. All right, so number one, we're going to have this map and this map. All right, did you hear that? Too bad. We're moving on. Next thing, we're going to have the new game mode. What's up for this game mode? We're getting Rainmaker. All right, next up, we have Salmon Run. It is up for this and this time, right? Ready? Boom. That's today's announcement. Hey, see you next time. Bye-bye. Something like that. I think they might be a lot more just slapdash kind of fast-paced announcers in order to, make it in general the announcements funner to watch and quicker to go through so it doesn't feel like a slog every time you boot up the game. But of course, that is my personal theory, and I have no evidence to support that or anything. I just thought it was that'd be fun if they do. And besides, it wouldn't be like a theory or prediction video if I didn't throw a few out there sort of predictions now, would it? But that is my personal thought. I think we might see some new announcers come into Splatoon 2. Who they are, I don't know, but that's at least my thought. Next up, let's talk about Splatsville itself, right? We're getting a whole new hub area, which is, Splatsville, I keep saying that. Right, so we're getting a whole big area, a whole big new city, and just from the little screenshots that we've seen so far, it definitely seems like it's going to be a lot more expansive than previous ones. Maybe not huge, but I think it's definitely going to be a little more expansive and definitely have more to it. And this is where I'm kind of getting into some of the other stuff. Like, for example, this is another little personal theory or mine, or a mini theory. But going back, sorry, I'm just kind of flipping through the trailer here. Going back to the trailer when the game was first shown off and showed off a glimpse of Splatsville, they showed off like little, it looks like there's a central square and then like a bunch of roadways kind of branching off from there. And one quick shot they had of it was this little this little alleyway with a big, almost like a, looks like it's like a porcelain piggy bank with some like, almost sounds like coin machines going on in the background. I'm sure I'll put this up in the video. But an interesting idea I had here was, what if this little pathway here led to maybe a casino-like area, sub-area to the hub, right? Led to another hub area that was maybe casino-themed or something like that. I only say that mostly because the pig here makes me think of like a piggy bank, and it almost sounds like coin machines in the background, so that's what I think of. What would a casino actually have to do with Splatoon? I'm not sure, honestly. Maybe that would be where you do your stat rerolls. Ooh, that could be fun. Yeah, maybe you do your stat rerolls. There, you go through, say like, all right, here's some coins, and then they'd put your stats and reroll whatever item you have, and, you know, bada boom, bada bang, see if you can get the right stats you want, or the right perks. Now, is that again confirmed? No, again, these are just my thoughts, and I'm just kind of more or less having fun with this, if you couldn't tell. It's not like that's a guarantee for tomorrow or anything. I'm just basically having fun theorizing before Nintendo gives us the big gist of what's all gonna be there. But again, I do think that will be there, and I think that would be something interesting. At least, you know, more to that. Now, I will say one thing I did hear, and this is just a rumor. I don't remember where. I think I heard it from like Switch Force on when I was watching his video or something, but I think someone mentioned that you might even have your own apartment in Splatsville, which would be a really cool idea. You know, your own little apartment you could customize and store your gear. Again, is that something that would actually be there? Not likely. But another fun idea to bring up nonetheless. Now, I'd say the other thing I think we'll see in tomorrow's presentation is obviously the story mode in Salmon Run, right? I do think we will see those there because, you know, those are big parts of the game. Those are things we're really looking forward to, especially story mode, which if you haven't played the Octo expansion, you should because it's phenomenal, and I will be making a video on that of exactly why it's phenomenal because it's awesome. But yeah, if you haven't played Octo expansion, that's a super fun time, and after playing through that when that came out, this gives me tons of confidence of them going forward into the story mode for Splatoon 3. It really looks like, from what bits and pieces they've shown off so far, it really looks like they're taking it to the next level and just amping the heck out of it. And so I'm certainly excited for that mode, and I think we will be seeing a lot of info around that. I think they'll definitely spend a good portion of time surrounding story mode as well as Salmon Run. In story mode, I can't say much on like what I think is going to be in there because I don't really got many ideas on that. But I am mostly curious about how your little buddy's going to play into it, right? If you remember, you have this like little salmonade that follows you around in story mode, and it's adorable. I'll be honest, it's kind of adorable. And I am curious how he's going to play into it because I highly doubt he would actually be involved in multiplayer. I mean, they did show off like a whole basically trailer of them just playing multiplayer, and I didn't see the little salmonade involved. But I am curious what he's gonna do within single player mode. I mean, they did show one little piece where they threw him into like some bit of, well, I don't know what it was, some kind of like almost like furry looking goop. That just sounds disgusting. But he then, you know, sucked it up and just vaporized it or ate it, I guess. So, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what he's going to do in the story, but I'm sure he'll have some fun purpose. Nonetheless. Now, Salmon Run, that's the one where I'm hoping they add a lot more to. Because in terms of single player, like I've just been going on, I think that's going to be great. I have a lot of confidence in that. Salmon Run is what I'm more interested in and learning about, simply because I want to find out just how much we're going to get added to that, right? Is Salmon Run just going to be, kind of like the same thing, but new additions and new stuff added to it and new bosses and that? Or are they going to do some big kind of shifts, right? One thing I would love to see is new variations of Salmon Run. And what do I mean? Well, if you played Salmon Run in Splatoon 2, you notice the map changes quite a bit, right? You have a whole lot of, I guess you would say, stage events that happen while you're playing. Like, the normal gist is that the stage is covered by so much water every single round. The tide either goes up, shrinking the stage down, or comes down, expanding the stage, right? But there's also a whole series of effects that can happen, such as you can get fog mode. Your visibility is very limited, and salmonades attack from all sides. Or night mode, right? When it goes on full on night mode, and then you have a horde of salmonades that just charge you really fast, right? Or you could get the one where there's a mothership, right? They have like a full-on mothership come in, and then they have salmonades fly down and bring in reinforcements rather than coming from the shore, and stuff like that. So that's definitely something I would love to see out of Splatoon 2, is a lot more of that, a lot more of the different events that can happen during the game, or a lot of just variations that are all fun to happen, that could happen, and stuff like that. And while we're on that too, I'm also thinking, I'm assuming they're gonna take some of those maps from 2 and probably remix them along with adding new ones. But outside of that, I think that mostly covers Salmon Run. I am a little curious if they're going to do a bit more with, the story of Salmon Run, because in Splatoon 2, the story is just mostly, it's kind of like a shady organization, right? You have Mr. Grizz, right? This mysterious Mr. Grizz he's like, hey kid, right? You want to go work for money? Great, you're in. Go get these golden eggs from Salmonades. No questions asked. I got your pay right here. Just go and do it, right? And so I'm wondering if they're gonna add any more story to Salmon Run. I feel like they will, because at least for me, it feels like the Splatoon guys really do like writing their lore and expanding the Splatoon world. So I think there will be a little more lore around that, but probably not a ton of story, as that's mostly going to be, well, in campaign. Outside of that, the other thing I think we will most likely see, or at least, well, I wouldn't say most likely see, more of something I would like to see, and I'm curious if they're going to do, is a brand new mode. And what do I mean by that? Well, there is multiplayer mode, there's Salmon Run, and there is single player or campaign. I'm curious is whether or not if they're going to do a full brand new mode, meaning like something different from all of those. So maybe another co-op mode or another separate multiplayer mode, but one that's completely different. And what do I mean? Well, I'm not entirely sure what it would be, but maybe something different from Salmon Run, right? Like, Salmon Run was the big new mode going into 2. It was this horde survival mode. Really fun, really cool. So I'm curious to see if we might get something on the level of Salmon Run in Splatoon 3. Like, a brand new mode. It's not multiplayer, it's not Salmon Run, and it's not campaign. It's just something completely different. Again, I couldn't tell you what exactly that would be, but that would be interesting. And actually, with that in mind, I kind of wanted to hop back to single player really quick, because as I mentioned earlier, right? As I mentioned earlier, that little idea of what if there's like a casino or something in the Splatoon 3 Splatsville. Again, this is me going off of one singular screenshot and all, but a thought just came across my head. With single player, I am curious if it's going to be more linear or open. Because they do seem to kind of, I mean, the fact that the game takes place on the surface, whereas normally it takes place underground, is pretty interesting. And so with that in mind, I kind of thought about this one thing of, what if the campaign is a little more of an open experience, right? It's more of an open campaign, or at least maybe has open areas where you could explore and do like maybe little side quests or stuff like that. And that's where I was thinking the casino could go in. What if you could go in there and there could be like different side quests, like go take out these enemies, or go find this chest, or, you know, like, what if you could go back after you complete campaign? What if there's like a whole open section or an open area that you could go and explore around basically I know, I'm losing my train of thought here. What if there's like almost not necessarily an open area, open sandbox? That's where I'm looking for. So what if there's like an open sandbox area that you can just go around and explore as an Inkling, and then you could go complete side quests within that area? That would be really cool. That would be really fun. But again, that's another just random idea, random theory. I don't know if it's actually gonna be there. I just thought that just came into my head, so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna say it. But overall, this game I think is going to be a great time nonetheless. If anything, I am excited for this game because I think it's going to be great. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff in it. I definitely trust the Splatoon team, and I think they got a lot planned for this game, so I'm not too worried about it. But all in all, I think this game's looking great. I think it's going to be a good time, and definitely I'm excited for this presentation. I think it's going to show off a lot. I mean, like I said, going back to Splatoon 2 and looking at that, there is already, like, when I rewatched its direct presentation, they jam-packed that thing full of just announcement after announcement, detail after detail about the game, and that was like 25 minutes long, or 26. So I definitely think the same case will be here. I think they said it's going to be about 30 minutes, so definitely going to be a content-packed presentation, and of course they're going to be showing off new weapons and new probably ranked modes and specials and all that goodie, that all those goodies that are definitely going to be fun to look around and see. And for me personally, I'd say what I'm most excited for is probably going to be, you know, the new campaign. I am so excited to see what they're going to do for the campaign, and also the hub area. Alright, Splatsville seems really interesting, and I really hope they do some fun stuff with it, because, well, the hub area is always nice in 1 and 2. It always felt like they could be more, and so I really hope they get to do that here with 3, because this is why I've been personally super excited for 3, is that Splatoon 1 was certainly a cool game when it launched, but a bit content lacking, because it was a Wii U era. They just kind of, you know, they wanted to get games out there, right? And then Splatoon 2, on the other hand, didn't feel like, to me, a true sequel. It more so felt like taking Splatoon 1 and perfecting it. And I loved it, no doubt. I love Splatoon 2. I've put tons of time into that. But going into Splatoon 3 now, I am so excited for it, because this is their chance now where it's like they get to be full-on sequel, right? They're not trying to meet a new console launch anymore. They're not trying to hurry and get things out there now. Now they have the time. They have the time to fully make this a true sequel to Splatoon. And I am so excited for it. I cannot wait for tomorrow's presentation. And you bet your butt I'm going to be tuning into it at the crack of dawn. Oh my gosh. It's going to be early. But anyways, I'm running my mouth, so I hope you had fun at least watching this. I've just been rambling for the majority of this time, but hey, if you're still here, well, thank you for watching. I'm impressed, to say the least. If you've got any thoughts about what you think is going to be in tomorrow's presentation, well, please leave them down in the comments. It'd be fun to read them. Plus, take this as a good opportunity. If you put it down in the comments, and then your prediction ends up being correct for tomorrow, then you can go back and say, hey, check me out. I'm a god because I predicted that stuff easy peasy. Or you could be wrong and you can laugh at yourself, like I probably will be doing here in less than 24 hours. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you have a lovely day, and goodbye.